Sands Hotel. And the fighters are now making their way through the crowd and into the ring, with Joe Louis continuing his battle to move up in the ladder in the heavyweight ranks. And of course, Tom Hall, ranked #2 in the world, and this should really be something. Climbing into the ring now on the far side in the blue corner is Tom Hall, and of course in the red corner will be Joe Louis.
Yeah, Tom Hall actually in the near blue corner. There's a good shot of Tom Hall.
Tom Hall is a gifted fighter whose skills are indeed greater than his 13-2 record represents. His only losses are close decisions to former world champion Dan Macaruso and to U.S. heavyweight champion Brad Hefton. Hall's father was a professional boxer, and he grew up learning how to use his hands. He started karate training when he was only 12 years old, and he was promoted to black belt at the age of 18. He began his full contact career at 18 in Milwaukee, and he had many early and quick victories, and of course he moved right up the ladder. His last fight was in Greenville, South Carolina on February 26, where he lost a very close decision to Brad Hefton for the U.S. title. But he did break Hefton's jaw in 2 places on that occasion. Tom is not an excitable fighter. He kind of stays calm throughout all the action. Now, we talked to Tom earlier and asked him for how he felt about facing the living legend of Joe Louis.
I feel fighting the legendary Joe Louis would be a great honor and a privilege. With this fight, I've taken consideration. I've intensified my training. I've upstepped my training abilities, and therefore, tonight, it will be a great fight.
Well, there's Tom Hall, one of the more understated fighters, and he's getting ready as they're lacing on his gloves for one of the most important fights of his career. And he will be fighting a living legend right here, Joe Louis, a living legend in the sport, a legend that transcends his ability at the ring. Over 17-year career as a black belt. Joe earned his black belt in just 7 months on Okinawa. The minimum usually is 3 years. He proceeded to dominate every point karate tournament in the country from 1966 through 1972, when he retired from fighting. He entered the runoffs in 1974 for the first full contact championship and emerged as the original world heavyweight champion. In 1975, he left the ring to pursue an acting career, and he attacked acting in the same way that he attacks karate. He really showed his skills in the martial arts as a movie star. He turned down several studio contracts, and finally he did make 2 martial art epics. One was Force 5, and the other was The Jaguar Lived. Now, Louis ultimately plans to redirect his energies back into his film career, but for right now, he's obsessed with recapturing the World Heavyweight Championship. On March 19th, at the Battle of Atlanta, he made his first television ring appearance in 7.5 years, and you saw it right here on ESPN. His showing there has the whole karate world buzzing as he won his 3rd comeback bout, and he won it big, and he immediately moved up again in the world ratings. This is a serious effort for Joe Louis, but the question on everyone's mind is why?
Why? Well, actually, I don't like to analyze those kinds of questions or get into it too deeply and that sort of thing. Basically, what I want to prove here tonight is that beyond conditioning and talent, there's something called desire. And I think I'm going to need it, especially after a 7-year layoff.
Why fighting? Surely the acting is a much easier way to go.
Oh, not really. I mean, I've been on the set many times, and it both take quite a bit of preparation. As you know, on a film set, or whether you're training for a fight, it takes hours and hours and hours of training and preparation to get ready. There's something I like about both of them, though. They're both what I call an adventurous, exploratory thing, and what I'm looking for tonight, again, is the continued adventure of making my comeback and, again, shooting for the World Heavyweight Karate Championship.
Okay, that's it. All the talk's over. Ready for the introduction of the fighters. Here's ring announcer Tony Mann.
Ladies and gentlemen, our main event from the Copa Room of the Sands Hotel Casino in Atlantic City. The living legend returns to full contact karate. Allow me please to introduce the principals fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing blue pants from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, currently ranked as the #2 heavyweight contender in the world. He's 23 years old, stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighed in at 192 pounds. His record is 13-2-1. Ladies and gentlemen, a big Sands Hotel Casino welcome, please, for Tom Hall. Tom Hall. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the red corner, wearing the black pants with the blue stripes, he's appearing here in his 4th comeback after a 7.5-year layoff. Started his return effort in November and is now 3-0 since his comeback. He was the PKA's original world champion, winning the first world championship in the Los Angeles Sports Arena back in 1974. He's 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighed in today at 193 pounds. From Raleigh, North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, please, judges for the fight, Dave Harris, Ray Martin, Joe Martinelli. Referee is Fred Landrum. It's him. Scheduled for 7 rounds. 7 rounds.
Well, I don't know what else you can say. Everything's been said that can be said. Now it's time to get down to the cases. Tom Hall on the right and Joe Louis on the left. The referee is Fred Landrum. Here's his instructions.
Knock your opponent down. You're to go to the neutral corner. I direct you to and stay there until I tell you to come out. Do you have any questions? Okay, let's shake hands, go back to the corners, we'll bow in and fight.
7 rounds, ladies and gentlemen.
You'll never see more intensity from a fighter than you see from Joe Louis. He came into this comeback effort knowing what he had to overcome. He trained like a fanatic. He showed all of the disbelievers that he would get in shape and that he would be in shape to fight.
All right, let's see the strategies as they develop here now. Hall has the height advantage, the reach advantage. And let's see if he kind of stays at a distance.
Well, you could hear that round kick of Joe Louis splatter off the left right rib cage then of Tom Hall. Hall coming in with a hard, big right-hand bomb. Louis took it on the glove. Louis with the side kick. That was his big weapon in the point karate days, was the side kick, and we saw him use it effectively against Charlton Young in Atlanta last month. Louis trying to mix his shots up.
Of course, Louis has set a very tight and very extensive schedule for himself. He fought a few months ago in Atlanta. He's fighting here in Atlantic City, and he hopes to fight again in another month or so, assuming that he wins here.
Good counter kick, as you were talking then, by Tom Hall. Came off a Louis attempted back kick.
Both fighters showing respect for each other.
Good round kick in by Hall. Smacked Louis's glove into his face. Tom Hall not acting intimidated, and Hall is definitely countering off the front leg move with that right hand counter. Good right hands to the body by Louis. 2 of them landing right on Hall's left rib.
30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
Many of the experts said Tom Hall might have the wrong fighting style for Joe Louis. Louis asked me what I thought. I told him Tom Hall would be as tough a fight as he could look for in this heavyweight division.
And Hall is not backing up in round 1. He came to fight. He stood right there. And that's the end of action in round 1. More professional karate action coming up in just a moment.
Seconds out.
And his corner folks telling him exactly what's going on as we get ready for action in round 2. Joe Louis against Tom Hall, heavyweight division.
No question, Joe Louis knows he's in a fight. He knows that Tom Hall did not come here to lose this fight, and Tom Hall did not come here intimidated.
If Joe Louis keeps backing up and Tom Hall can extend the full extension of his kicks and his punches, Louis is going to be in trouble.
Louis with a side kick, led with a side kick. Hall jammed it. Good right hand in by Hall. Had Lewis going backwards. Good uppercut inside then by Hall. I had that first round dead even, 10-10. Both guys landing some good shots. Lewis is primarily to the body. Both men are blasting the kicks. You can hear him here. The crowd just does not really quite know what to think at this point. They see that Tom Hall is definitely not intimidated. Left-right combination by Hall. That's the thing that I thought would give Lewis the most trouble, was Hall's left-right combination, either off of Lewis's round kick or as his initial move. Lewis digging the right hands into the body. We'll expect to see, I think, that right hand come back to the head later. Joe Lewis said he thought this would be the toughest fight of his life. And Joe Lewis has been in some fights. Good right hands in by Hall.
Hall very effective on the ropes. You would think he would stay at a distance, but he proved a tremendous flurry there.
A cut above Lewis's left eye.
And he's got Lewis in trouble. Lewis is backing up and covering up.
Lewis is backing up.
They're going to have to work in his corner to stop that cut. There's the bell ending round 2. It started out as a good round for Joe Lewis, but the last minute or so really went to Tom Hall as he came on strong. And he has to do some patchwork there on Joe Lewis. The cut is over the right eye and could be a problem.
Give me ice.
Yeah, it's right over his left eyebrow there. It's outside.
It's a good one. Don't worry about it. It's a good one.
Bill Crane telling Joe Lewis that it's a good cut for him. Lewis asked if it's bad.
Well, you can see this is where the corner men pay off now. They get in there. Here's action out of round 2. And you see Hall has got Lewis backed up against the ropes. There is a good right there that probably created the cut.
It was either that or, you know, just a left shoulder collided there a second ago. I still don't see the cut at that point. Bill Crane working with Joe Lewis there at Camp Lejeune. Lewis doing his training there at Camp Lejeune where he went through boot camp in 1966.
Here we go with
64.
action in round 3. Hall is not intimidated at all. He really is moving in, and he is getting more confidence by the minute.
Glenn Keeney for Tom Hall told Tom Hall that his fighting in the last few fights had been kind of lazy, that people wanted to see Hall with more action. So it looks like Hall is definitely prepared to provide that for him. Lewis in trouble at this point, in trouble not because he's hurt, but in trouble because he hadn't quite figured out what to do with Tom Hall.
He's bleeding from the nose now, too, besides the cut over his eye. And Hall is really unloading on him.
I gave the last round to Tom Hall, 10-9. I've got him leading by 1 point, 20-19. Now Lewis is putting the left hook behind the right hand. Lewis is slowing down with the front leg round kick. Glenn Keeney telling Tom Hall that Joe Lewis has got to kick and that Hall should jam him up. That's the kind of strategy that Terry Roop used against.
He's only got 6 kicks, Joe. Joe Lewis has got to get 2 more kicks in.
Glenn Keeney making sure that Tom Hall continues to jam Lewis. Hall catching him now with tight punches inside. Lewis missing with his right hand at this point. Powerful front leg round kick by Lewis counts. Hall has landed more punches in this round.
Joe Lewis has really got a problem now. He is cut over the eye, his nose is bleeding, and he may well be cut inside the mouth, too. That's the end of round 3. Back to the corner now with Tom Hall. Tom Hall started out slow in the first round, but he really wanted to feel out and see exactly what Joe Lewis was going to do. Let's get listen to the instructions in Tom Hall's corner.
Save a big spell for him if you don't think. press you too hard the last 20, 30 seconds this time. See how tired he is. He said, don't wear yourself out. But if you got it, when there's 15, 20 seconds to go, give him a flow.
You get my kicks in?
You got your kicks way in.
He had about 14, 16 kicks.
Well, the strategy there was to try to turn the steam on in the last 10 or 15 seconds of the round. They appear to think that Joe Louis may be tiring.
That man in Tom Hall's corner is known as the Fox, Glenn Keeney, and he is giving Tom Hall some excellent advice. Now, Glenn Keeney was working in the corner of Ross Scott in Joe Louis's last fight before he retired here in Atlantic City in 1975.
Here we go with action in round 4. Joe Louis in the black, Tom Hall in the blue.
I gave that last round again to Tom Hall, 10-9. I've got him leading by 2 now, 30-28.
Tom Hall is not intimidated, and he's using those elbows to protect his ribcage. And Joe Louis really is having a problem trying to figure out how am I going to get in on this fella and what strategy am I going to use.
Most people expected to see Louis doing the moving forward in this fight, but Tom Hall has taken control using his height advantage and is causing Louis to move backwards. Louis's key in the point karate days was that he was very, very analytical, that he would see what kind of mistakes his opponent was making and capitalize on them. But now Hall is picking up on Louis's mistakes.
Surprisingly, when he gets Louis against the ropes, Hall is the most effective. I mean, he has landed, oh my gosh, a left and a right. 2 straight shots right to the face of Joe Louis. Joe Louis having trouble breathing. His mouth is open. His nose is bleeding. His eye is cut. And he may be cut inside the mouth, too. He's going to have to muster all the strength he can, Joe, to pull this one out.
He's got Hall dropping the left hand now when Louis makes his initial move. Now Hall turning it on here the last 20 seconds as Glenn Keeney had pointed out for him. Good exchange, and Louis landed a good left hook, but Hall also with a good solid right hand in. Hall just leaning on Louis. Good right hand then by Louis.
There's the bell ending round 4 in what we have here in the Copa Room of the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City is a real tough fight. Back into the corner of Joe Louis. And you can see, man, they are really working on him. And they're talking about sucking it up. Let's listen to the corner instructions.
Joe, you got to protect it, all right? Protect
we
it, okay?
hear him breathing? Yes, we can hear him breathing very heavily.
Give me no piece of ice.
His nose is injured, his eye is cut, and he is definitely having trouble breathing.
Okay.
Well, he's got his hands full here with young Tom Hall. Tom Hall is sitting calmly over his corner, getting his instructions. There's the buzzer for seconds out, ready to go with action in round 5. This is a 7-round bout, and Joe Louis has really got to pick up the steam here if he wants to pull this one out.
Bill Crane told Joe Louis there in the corner that he was coming back, as he did in the last minute of that round. Tom Hall leaning on him there during the last 20 seconds. That's the weapon that Louis really needs, is that double jab. I've got Hall leading by 3 points now, 40-37 at the end of 4 rounds. Louis came back at the end of the last round, but Hall had the rest of the round.
Tom Hall is not afraid to move in close. In fact, it looks like he wants to get in close. You would think with his height advantage he'd want to stay at a distance, but he wants to lay in there and punch.
I think the strategy he's getting from his corner is to keep on the pressure, keep Louis on the defensive. Louis normally has the fighter and has normally had the fight go his way, be under control himself. Hall is staying covered up. Louis is not able to get into the head with his hands. Late in the last round, he had Hall dropping the left hand, but Louis has not been able to get clean shots in on Hall's head.
Tom Hall about using the knee on a kick. I'll tell you one thing, Hall wants to tee off with that uppercut, and he has executed it very well. 30 seconds left in the 5th round. Tom Hall in the blue, Joe Louis in the black. Hall leaning on Louis against the ropes now. The referee, Fred Landrum, separates him.
Louis digging the
shots.
Digging the shots into the body, and it remains to be seen what kind of effect those may have on Hall in the later rounds.
Not a man down again.
Back into the corner with Tom Hall now. 23 years of age. Came into this bout weighing 192 pounds. He's 6'2". He's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He has won 13, lost 2, and has fought 1 draw. And that last fight that he had a few weeks ago against Brad Hefton, a tough fight for him to lose, even though he broke Hefton's jaw in the fight.
No sense in walking out of this thing like you have in the past, where you do a good fight and you're 1 point loser. Ain't no sense in it. Kick his ass and they give it to you. You got some people rooting for you now because he's kicking you the ball every time you turn around. 1 point from now on out. Give yourself the first 30 seconds.
Here's action out of round 5. See Louis trying to pick up the pace there a little bit, but he does not intimidate Tom Hall. It was interesting, you heard his manager tell him, we don't want to lose this fight by 1 point. This is round 6, 2 rounds to go, the 6th and the 7th. Hall in the blue, Joe Louis in the black.
Louis has a good defense inside. Hall's not able to hurt him, but Hall's getting through Louis's defense more than Louis is getting through because Hall has been doing the forward movement. I gave the last round dead even, 10-10. I've got Hall still leading by 3, 50-47. Good left hand then by Hall.
Hall appears to me to think that Louis cannot hurt him. I mean, he just keeps coming in. It's like saying, go ahead, throw your best shot at me, Joe. You can't hurt me.
They're calling for the left jab in Louis's corner, but Louis is thinking too much about covering up. That is, he's letting Tom Hall take the first move.
Look at that uppercut that Hall brings in there. He backs off and tries to loop that uppercut in there.
You know, Brad Hefton, the U.S. champion in Rockford, Illinois, is watching this fight closely. Louis will be fighting him there on May 13th. That one staggered Louis.
A terrific right by Hall. But I'll tell you one thing. For a champion, Joe Louis has it. He's not giving up. He's pulling him up.
Joe Louis, when he was here against Ross Scott, dislocated his shoulder 4 times in that fight and still saw the end of the fight against former world heavyweight champion Ross Scott. He'll be there. If he's not unconscious or dead, Louis will be there at the end of the fight.
He can't breathe. He just spit out his mouthpiece, and that could be dangerous. He's really, he's got a cut under the right eye now. There's the bell, ending the 6th round. Boy, a tough round. Joe Louis is taking a tremendous pounding here.
All out.
Joe Louis, you can see by his face here.
Cut under the right eye.
All right. You got to take him this round. Dig deep, Joe. Dig deep. Dig deep. Work the jab. Go after him, Joe. Go after him.
Joe Crane telling Louis he's got to go after Hall. I don't think Louis is quite sure what to go after him with. I think maybe a left jab, right hand to the body, left hook would be the right combination for Tom Hall. Right hand to the body, followed with a left hook, might get in.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe Louis has got a lot riding on these last 2 minutes. Coming up to the last 2 minutes, the 7th round. But on the other hand, Tom Hall has a lot to gain, too.
If he loses this fight, will Joe Louis still get a shot at the U.S. heavyweight crown? I would think the answer is probably yes, that he would, provided the winner would fight Tom Hall afterwards. I imagine that's the way they'd look at that. You can expect Tom Hall to keep the pressure on this fight. Glenn Keeney told him he wasn't going to let him just go out of here a 1-point winner.
This is the 7th and final round. Tom Hall in the blue, Joe Louis in the black.
I gave the last round again to Hall. I've got him leading by 4 points, 60-56. As we said at the head of the show, Tom Hall could be the wrong opponent for Joe Louis, and thus far he has been. Tom Hall is not going to let Joe Louis take the initiative away from him.
He's stopping. He's not giving him any punching room. He's just staying right on top of him and smothering his punches, but he's being effective himself. Joe Louis does not seem to have the strength to do the damage that he needs to take him out.
This will be a disappointing loss for Joe Louis. Glenn Keeney screaming at Tom Hall to really pour it on now and finish this fight convincingly. And Joe Louis just does not look like he's going to be able to get through that Tom Hall defense, which has been impenetrable.
30 seconds left in the fight. Joe Louis really in trouble, staggering around the ring right now.
And he knows, and you see Joe Louis is not dying. Joe Louis is not quitting. He is staying with it to the last minute. Smart fight by Tom Hall. Joe Louis just couldn't get through to him.
The bout, a terrific bout between Tom Hall and Joe Louis. The fans here at the Copa Room of the Sands Hotel Casino in Atlantic City really got their money's worth in this heavyweight bout between Joe Louis and Tom Hall. Action all the way from the very first round right on through the 7th round.
And they know what they're doing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, too, don't they?
He'll wait now for the decision. But I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be very difficult to not give this fight to Tom Hall. He was very, very effective. All right, we'll be back in just a moment for the decision in this heavyweight bout right after these messages.
The Copa Room here at the Sands Casino Hotel is deathly quiet. The fans waiting to hear just how the judges have scored this fight. A valiant effort by Joe Louis. Tom Hall kept the offensive strategy going toward Joe Louis and had Joe Louis backing up, which nobody expected during these 7 rounds. In the final round, you see Tom Hall continuing that forward action with a front kick, got Louis off balance, came back, but you see in Louis's eyes right through to the end that there was no quitting there, none at all. He still will look forward, I think, to fighting Brad Hefton. We'll ask him after this decision. Let's go to Tony Mann now for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the decision from the Copa Room at the Sands Hotel Casino in Atlantic City. Judge Harris scores the fight 68-70. Judge Martinelli, 66-70. Judge Martin, 66-70. Your winner by a unanimous decision, Tom Hall. Tremendous battle, ladies and gentlemen. How about a nice hand for both these fighters, huh? Nice hand for both these fighters.
Van Canford is in the ring with both fighters now. Try to get a word with both fighters. First with Joe Louis.
Joe, a tough loss for you there. Man gave a good fight, though. What does this mean for your future now, your battle with Brad Hefton?
Nothing. It's he was beat by Brad, but I understand he beat Brad first time. And I watched the two of them fight. I thought he was a much stronger fighter than Hefton. That's the reason I really wanted him for a sparring partner, but the last 3 opponents backed out on me, so I ended up having to spar him.
Did he do anything different, anything unexpected? He seemed to come in close. I thought maybe he would stay at a distance.
I thought
he stayed on top of you.
Well, I was tired today for some reason. I didn't peak soon enough in my training. I only had 2 weeks' notice, which was the same as he.
Right.
I had some personal problems in my life, which distorted me quite a bit.
Right.
The thing I liked about him is he didn't back away from me. I expected him to move backward a little more than what he did. He punched hard, all of his punches.
So the comeback is still on, though. You're going to keep in there and try to get that heavyweight.
I got to make it look competitive. Otherwise, they think I'm invincible like I used to. You know, the first 14 guys I fought, I knocked them all out inside the first 2 rounds.
Okay, listen, good luck to you. We'll be looking forward to seeing you again. Let's Let's get the winner over here. Tom? Hey, Tom. Come on over here. Come on over here, Tom. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Come on in here. Congratulations.